we have this MNIST data set. Data set is very clean, and you will not require to do any kind of pre-processing or anything for the data. So we have this MNIST data set. This data set has handwritten digits, like handwritten images of digits from 0 till 9, okay? And given these images, you will need to identify what number is there on that particular image, okay? So now the first question is why we require machine learning? Why not anything else? Like why not the traditional programming language which are there? Okay, so first let me explain to you what is the difference between a traditional programming language and a machine learning programs or whatever it is. So like if you see, there are a lot of definition from Tom Mitchell and other experts from machine learning side of things. Try to keep it simple. So traditional programming, how it works, let's say this is my traditional programming, okay? So the traditional programming will take few data and few rules, and then it will give you some answers. This is your traditional programming. All right. Now, what is this rules? All those if then else condition loops, logics that you write, all those rules, you have some set of predefined rules. Those rules will be applied on top of these data, and then you will finally get some answers. That is how a traditional programming works, okay, or a traditional program works. On the other hand, how a machine learning or a deep learning model will be working for you is you will feed data and answers, and you will get rules. What I mean by you will be feeding data and answers, these answers are historical answers, or like some of the historical knowledge or skills that you have. Like you are kind of giving some kind of experience to your machine, you are giving some kind of experience to your code, and based on those experience and answers, it will create its own set of rules. And then any new data and any unseen data, the rules which were generated will be applied on those unseen data, and then you will finally be able to predict something. Let me give one example, okay? Let's say I am trying to build a program which will identify whether a person is running or walking. Simple program, right? Whether a person is running or walking, I want to develop a program for that. So what I can do, like when I'm using traditional programming, what I can do, I can say that like if speed is less than 2 kilometers per hour or something this way, then I will say the person is walking. Else I will say the person is running, right? So this is what, these are the rules. I'm feeding rules, and then I will be feeding the data. Like let's say I'm feeding the data as 4 kilometers, and the rule will be applied. Whether this 4 kilometer per hour is less than whatever logic that, like whatever logic you have put, it will be validated. And then finally you will get an answer whether the person is running or walking, correct? But let's say there is a child, okay, whose running style, running speed will be different. There is a person who is kind of a marathon runner, or Usain Bolt, let's say, or Milkha Singh. Their running speed and walking speed will be different. How many different logics you can put, how many different if then else condition you will be putting to identify whether the person is running or walking? Are you able to get the difference? Guys,
Yes.
we will be making
Yes.
this more interactive, kind of I need yes and no kind of thing, okay? So like whenever you have not understood, please let me know, I will explain the things again. Let's make best use of this 1 hour session, all right? So you are able to get the difference, right? Like here it is not feasible for you, it is not possible for you to write all those multiple combination of if then else logic to identify whether the person is running or walking. You're getting it, right? So in this case, what you will do, you will be building a machine learning model, and you will feed historical data, as in like you will feed some historical data, like for the child is running or walking, like what is the speed of the child, what is the speed of Usain Bolt, style of running and walking for Usain Bolt, style and speed of running and walking of your Milkha Singh. And anything like cheetah or like any animal or everything you can feed, and then machine learning is going to build the rules for you. So when the rules are not explicitly defined, you do not know the exact rules, in such scenarios machine learning will be helping you. So in a lot of scenarios, let's say if you are building some image recognition system, one of the joinee Avilash, he is working on some image recognition uh, use cases. So when you are building this image recognition, let's say given an image, you want to identify whether that image is of Sachin Tendulkar or someone else. You cannot put those if then else condition like, oh, okay, if the jawline is at 45-degree angles or the hair is curly or this and that, then the image is of Sachin Tendulkar or someone else. Putting that many if then else combination or logic will not be possible in these use cases or in these scenarios. That's why traditional programming is not going to help you here. So you need to have machine learning or deep learning to do these kind of things.
Got it.
I hope the difference is clear to everyone.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So the next thing is whether this machine learning is something new. I mean, like we are hearing a lot about this machine learning and deep learning since last 4 or 5 years. But is this something new? So the answer is no. The machine learning concept and the deep learning concept were there since last 60 to 70 years. Okay. But the problem was machine learning algorithms are hungry for data and computation power. And in past, we were not having that much data and we were not having that much computation power. That's why, although we had the algorithms, we had the idea, those were not usable because we had some limitations. We were not having that much data and we were not having that much compute power. All right, but like if you guys are from computer science, you might have heard about Moore's law, right? So Moore's law states that like speed and capability of your computers will increase every year. Okay, the transistors which are there on the chip is going to double every year, kind of what the Moore's law states. All right. So right now we have huge amount of compute power and also we have huge amount of data. Like if you just check on Google, the amount of data which is uploaded every hour or every minute in YouTube or on YouTube, it is kind of huge. And I'm just talking about YouTube. Like if you just consider all the medium and all those web and everything, the data which is getting uploaded or the transaction which is happening on the data is kind of huge. So we have huge amount of data which we can churn, which we can explore, and we have huge amount of compute power also available to us. So now working on these machine learning and deep learning models are possible. Working on these machine learning algorithms are possible and feasible. Okay. Now what you require to build these machine learning models. So there are in general like very good programming languages which are out there which you can use for machine learning, and the popular among those are, one of them is Python, and people also use R, but R is generally used by statisticians and the kind of people who kind of analyze the data, mostly for data analytics side of thing. But for building machine learning models and deep learning models, people use Python because Python is a full-fledged programming language which supports all kind of feature as in OOPS concept and all your programming features which are there. It is a full-fledged programming language and it is very flexible, and a lot of developers use Python. Okay. I already have all my, like I had taken some few classes on Python for one of the engineering college in Orissa, Silicon Institute of Technology, and I have uploaded all the videos on my YouTube channel. You guys can just go there and you can just see. So whatever I have covered there, it is more than what is required for you to know to do this machine learning and deep learning things. But that is a good start. And I will be honest, the videos are quite boring. Okay, quite boring as in because those are the exact rough cut of whatever sessions I had taken for the engineering college. So you will not see those fancy animations and other kind of things. But once you start going through those videos, like after 1 or 2 videos, you will start finding it interesting and it will be kind of helpful for you. So just go through those videos, like if you are interested in this machine learning and deep learning side of things. Okay, apart from programming language, apart from knowing this Python programming language, you will also need to have basic understanding of some mathematical concept, like college level calculus. You need to know linear algebra, okay, and statistics, that is for sure. Okay, so these are some of the mathematical concepts that you will need to revisit, you will need to learn to efficiently do machine learning and deep learning. Okay, anyways, I will be creating some series of videos related to calculus, linear algebra, and statistics, which will be helpful for you to understand this whole machine learning and deep learning things. All right, okay, any questions so far? Everyone is clear, like whatever I have discussed so far? Or
Yeah,
is anyone is
Yes,
having
sir.
any questions or anything?
we are good
Sir,
for now.
Yeah,
is there any restriction related to the data that the data should be in a particular format only while giving to the machine?
very good question. Very good question. Yes, there is like one very important restriction which is there. Okay, and the restriction is because all these machine learning models, they are some kind of mathematical models. Okay, these are some kind of mathematical models, and some kind of mathematics is happening behind the scenes. All right. So when I say mathematics, it has to be numbers. It cannot be strings. It cannot be
Yes, sir.
characters. It has to be numbers. So there are ways of like how you will, like even if you are getting the data in some kind of text format, you need to transform that in some way, like you need to encode it or some kind of things, like you will be converting it to number format, because your machine learning model or your deep learning model will always work with numbers. Even when I say images, like image recognition or something, image is what it is, like the image that you are seeing on your computer, it is a combination of some pixel values. Okay, so pixel values like RGB channel, red, green, and blue channel, and some pixel data, like this is 3 channel what a human can visualize. So you have your data in 3 channels RGB, and then you have pixel values which are numbers, numerical values. All right,
Yes,
so
sir.
the
Okay.
machine learning model will always work on numbers. Any other questions? Okay, all right. uh,
Okay.
so I will just explain the steps, and then I will be kind of showing you the use case. And first, let me explain the steps that I will be doing. There are some predefined set of steps that you will need to do while doing machine learning or building machine learning models. Okay, so first is you will collect the data. The first thing is data collection, right? So whenever I'm building machine learning models, I will be building those models on some data, right? So I require some data. So first step is data collection. After that, once you have collected your data, you will be doing some kind of pre-processing. You will pre-process the data. You will clean the data. Maybe the data that you have is not always going to be in the format that you require. You need to transform your data. You need to clean your data. Okay. So then there is something called as data pre-processing and cleaning. Okay, so there are multiple ways of doing pre-processing, cleaning. Like there are some concept called as outliers, removal of outliers. If there are missing data, how you will be handling them. All those things are there. Those, like I will be creating separate videos for all those basic stuffs which are there. Like I will be creating series of videos explaining all those concepts. For now, you need to just remember, like you will be doing some level of data pre-processing and data cleaning. Okay, and
Yes.
uh, there are other things, like maybe the data that you have uh, may not have the data in the format or in the way the you want. Okay, so there are concepts related to feature selection, feature engineering, feature extraction, dimensionality reduction. All those things will be covered in some other videos. Okay, but these are like basic steps: data collection, data pre-processing, and cleaning. Like you will clean and pre-process the data, and then maybe you can just review your data. You can just check what your data and how your data is. You can just review the data, and then finally you will start applying. Like after doing all this thing, you will prepare the data for your model. Prepare data for machine learning model. Now, how you are going to prepare the data? So this is something important that you need to understand. So you have data in a set, right? How you, okay, let me explain in this way, okay? When I'm saying machine learning, I'm saying that my code should learn by itself, okay? It should learn from experience. It should learn from my past data, okay? So let me give you one example. Let's say I'm taking the classes, all right? I'm taking the classes. How I will validate or how I will check whether whatever classes that I have taken, you were able to understand or not. How I'm going to validate that? Through some test. I will be taking some test, right? So after this session, I will be taking some test and I will be checking like how much you have understood the class. All right. So this is how we are going to do. I will be doing the training, and after that I will be taking some test. So similarly, like when you are building machine learning model, what you will do, you will train your model, and then whether the model that you created is good enough or not, you need to test that. All right. Now there are multiple ways of testing. Okay. So in your school exams or in your college exams, so there are different ways. Let's say few of the questions, few of the problems were discussed in the class. All right. And if I give you in the test all the questions that I have already discussed in the class, maybe some of you, let's say student A, did everything correct, like 10 out of 10. Student B did maybe 5 out of 10 or something like that. This is the result on all the questions that I have already discussed in the class. But let's say I am giving some new questions, some unseen questions, but on similar concepts. Okay. Now this student A who got 10 out of 10 is getting 0 out of 10. What I can conclude from this? Student A kind of memorized all the problems that I had discussed in the class, but he has not understood the concept. You're getting my point?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is something which I don't want. I don't want my students to memorize the questions, like whatever I have discussed, just memorize it. But for any unseen data, you are not able to solve it. So there is a concept in machine learning and your data science, something called as underfitting and overfitting. So you can understand this from this analogy. So when I say overfitting, as in the student has memorized all the questions that I discussed in the class, but he was not able to solve problems that were not seen, or like unseen problems he's not able to solve. This is what overfitting. He has overfitted on the problems that I discussed on the class. But let's say there is a student who got 0 out of 10 on the questions that I discussed in the class itself. He got 0. That means he has not understood the concept that I discussed in the class itself, or the problems that I discussed in the class. He has not understood that also. So this is under. Are you guys able to understand the difference?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So when I'm discussing in the class the problems that I discussed in the class, and when I took a test, the student is not able to solve those problems. That is underfitting. But when I say student solved all the problems, he got 10 out of 10 on the problems which he had already seen, but on any new problems, he is scoring 0, or he is not able to perform well. That is overfitting. So we want to avoid these two scenarios. We want to avoid underfitting and we want to avoid overfitting. Okay, there should be a model. The model should be that A scored 7 or 8 out of 10 on the seen data, and A scored 7 or 8 out of 10 on the unseen data as well. Then I can say, okay, the student A has understood 80% of the class. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Nikhil, if you want to add something, just you can unmute yourself and speak. All right, because you might be
I
already.
think no,
Yeah.
even the analogy was very good. I think it was able to make it very clear what underfitting and overfitting is. So I
Cool.
think it was quite good. was
Okay.
quite good.
Okay. So this is what underfitting and overfitting is, and we don't want our model to be either underfitting or overfitting. All right. Okay. So what we will do, how we will build our model, how we are going to validate this. So the steps are this. Let me just erase some part of it. So what usually you will do in machine learning models is like while building machine learning model, what you are going to do, whatever data that you have, you split the data maybe in 70% and 30%. Okay. You split the data. You train your model on 70% of your data and you test your model on 30% of the data. And the idea is when I say split the data and when you are training the model, these data should be unseen by your model. This should be very fresh. It should not have, like, your model should not be seeing these data. So you will mask this entire data. You will hide this data from your model and you will just train on 70% of the data. And then once you have finalized your model, you will be testing on these remaining 30% of your data. So this is what you need to do. When I say prepare data for machine learning, you split the data in 70% and 30%. Okay, this is not always going to be true. Okay, in deep learning, we have some other standards and recommendation, but usually in machine learning, either we go for 70 to 30% split or 80 to 20% of split. You split the data, train the model on 80% of your data and test it on 20% of the data. That is what you can do. There are other recommendations also. Rather than having just train test, you can do train, validate, and test. Okay, so you will be splitting in 3 steps: train, and then you will be validating, and then you will be testing. There are other concepts called as cross validation. Again, I will be discussing all these concepts in my future videos, but here I'm just trying to give you a high level idea. And when I'm drawing like this way in a train and test, make sure that there is some kind of randomness in the data, as in, do not split in sequence. Okay, you are not going to split the data just in sequence, as in like first 70% you pick for training and the next 30% you pick for testing. No, there should be random. There should be some randomness. Randomly take out some data, train your model on those random data, 70% of random data, and test your model on the remaining 30% of the random data. That is how you will be doing. Again, there is a small difference here. Like when you have time series data, then when you have time series data, you will be testing your model or you will be doing a prediction in future, right? Whenever you are working on time series, you will be doing prediction on future. There, you will be splitting in this sequential fashion. Like first 70% in time sequence, you will pick for training and the next 30% for testing. So these are some subtle differences that anyways, like I will be covering in detail in future lectures. But here, you need to understand that these are the steps that you will be doing. To prepare your model, to build your model, you will be splitting the data in 70% and 30% of the data. There should be some randomness. Usually, like apart from your time series data, you will always split your data within 70 and 30% randomly. You will be splitting in random fashion. Okay. Once you have splitted your data, now with this 70% data, you start training your models. Just pick some of the machine learning models and then fine tune those models. Like there are multiple machine learning models that you can try, and then you can select one of them and then finally start fine tuning those models. All right. So let's say I have taken the 70% of the data. I'm started now I have started training my model. Okay, so I will start with some of the basic models. Like there is something called a stochastic gradient descent algorithm. I will be explaining the maths and everything related to these algorithms, because you need to understand the maths behind these algorithms to actually apply these algorithms. Right now, like you have a lot of libraries in Python which you can directly use to apply these stochastic gradient descent or decision tree or whatever algorithms which are there. Okay, this meeting will end in 10 minutes. All right, fine. So we will split that, like we have splitted the data. Now one by one start applying these machine learning models and test how well you have trained your model. As in, like, you will be doing training, like how you performed on training. You will just see accuracy. There are few evaluation metrics, as in, like, for different set of problems, there are different kinds of evaluation metrics. Like, there are few concepts, like what kind of problem you are trying to solve, whether it is a classification model, whether it is a regression model, whether it is a supervised learning or unsupervised learning. These terms may be new to you. Again, it will be covered in detail, but so there are different classes, different categories of machine learning models which are there. Depending on your model, depending on your use case, depending on your the kind of model you are trying to build, you will have different kind of evaluation metrics. As in, like, for regression, how you will be evaluating; for classification, how you will be evaluating. All those things you need to consider. And after that, there are few other things in machine learning, as in, like, whenever I say you are training the model. So when I say training the model, what is happening behind the scene? So let's say this is my model. There are some parameters. Let's say these parameters I'm representing as W1, W2, W3, and so on. So when I'm training these models, these parameters are set. Okay, so the knowledge of training data are stick to these parameters. So I have some training data. There is some knowledge hidden in those data, right? Then there will be some information hidden in those data. So all those knowledge I will capture in these parameters. I will stick those knowledge in these parameters. That is what my machine learning model is. And next time when I'm trying to predict, I will not require those historical data. I will just need these parameter values. So this is how behind the scenes mathematics is working for your machine learning model to work. So these are called parameters, and there are few things called as hyperparameters. Okay, and these hyperparameters are hand tuned. You will be hand tuning these hyperparameters. These parameters will be self-learned from the given data set that you have. These parameters will be learned, and then some values will be assigned to these parameters. But there are few hyperparameters which you will be hand tuning them, like learning rate of your model. So these are some of the hyperparameters which you will be hand tuning. And then the model that you have finalized, you will be training the model, setting the hyperparameter, hand tuning. Like there are ways of doing that. We have grid search and randomized search CV to select or the best hyperparameter which are there, and then finally finalize your model and then productionize your model. These are the general steps which are there or which are involved in building a machine learning. So I will just show it to you, like one use case that I planned for this class. All right. So here what I'm doing, if you can just see, I will not go in detail with like all these code which are there, but whatever I have discussed so far theoretically, all those things are there in code format. I have just translated it into code. All right, so here I'm just doing some basic imports which is required. Like I will be using some Python libraries to build this model. So I'm just doing some imports. I'm preparing the data, like I'm fetching all the data. The data is there in fetch OpenML. Like this is a link which is calling some URI and then downloading all your data, all the data in your local system. So the data is downloaded. Then I will just be checking how my data is. So this particular data, which this MNIST data, if you just explore, this is having something called as your data and then target. Target as in like, what is the label associated with that data? Because this is a classification supervised machine learning algorithm. All right. So I am trying to do some kind of classification from the given image. What is the image of? So, and this is a supervised learning. So, okay, let me explain what is the difference between supervised and unsupervised learning. Okay, so I will take the same example of the student. So, all right, maybe I will take this example from Mahabharata. Okay, Arjun, you know that he was trained by Dronacharya, right? So there was some trainer who was kind of monitoring how Arjun is making progress. There was a trainer there. That is supervised learning. You are always learning under some supervision. Okay. Whereas Eklavya, he was not having any trainer. He was not having Dronacharya. He just made a sculpture of Dronacharya, and he learned by himself. That was unsupervised. There was no supervision like what progress Eklavya was making or not. All right. So this is the difference. So when I say supervised learning, what will be there? There will be some data, and then there will be some answer associated with this. So when I say this is a supervised learning, what I'm trying to say here, I will have some images, and then what this image is of, there will be a target or maybe some label to this image. And then based on this, so this is my image and then label. All right. I will have both of these, and then finally I will train my model. And to predict, I will just feed the model with a new image, and it is the output for me will be the label. This is what supervised learning, supervision. I'm saying like the historical data that I passed, I'm passing the answers also with the data. But there are some machine learning models which are unsupervised, where you will not have such kind of things. You will not have these labels. You will just have images. So there are some examples, as in like already there are so many examples on the internet. You can just check all these news clustering, as in on Google News, which you see all the sports news are clustered together, all the politics news are clustered together, economics news are clustered together. Nobody is doing all those things by hand. It is all done automatically. Okay. And there is no supervision. You don't have the labels associated with those news. The model itself is going to identify what segment or what section that news is should belong to, and then automatically it is going to move that news to that particular segment. That is unsupervised learning. All right. Here in this scenario, this is a supervised learning for me, and it is a classification. Okay. Again, there are models related to classification. There are models related to regression. Again, I will not go in detail right now, like what are the differences and what they are. Classification, when you have fixed number of labels, all right, because I want to identify whether the number is 0, 1, 2, 3 till 9 or not. I have fixed number of labels. I just have 10 labels for me. And from that, I need to classify the image, right? So this is classification technique. Whereas regression, when you do not have fixed number of labels, it is a continuous data which will be there. Let's say you want to predict the stock prices. It is a continuous data. It is not discrete values. There are no discrete values for that. That is a regression model. All right. So this is a supervised classification technique, and we are building a model for the same. All right. So I have fetched the data. I'm analyzing the data, and 1 second. All right. So this is my data. This is my image, and this is the label associated with this image. All right. I'm preparing the data as discussed. I'm splitting the data here in training and test thing. But if you see here, I'm just splitting the data in sequential form. Like first 60,000 of the images I took for training, and the next 1,000 I'm taking for, like, there are total 70,000 images here. So 60,000 I'm taking for training, and 10,000 I'm taking for testing. All right. And then I'm training the model. So initially I'm using SGD classifier, that is stochastic gradient descent algorithm is applied behind the scenes. I will be explaining the maths and everything in my future lectures and videos. But here I'm just using this model. And here, like if you see here, these are all the hyper parameters because I'm hand tuning them. Okay. But some of the parameters which are there already there in the model, they will be self-learned, and it will be learned. And then finally, like when also on the test data set, I'm checking the accuracy. So if I check, so if you see here on training data set, my accuracy was 88. On my test data, accuracy was 87. So looks okay, right? Looks okay as of now. All right. Now, this is another model I'm using. I'm checking decision tree classifier. Okay. So in this decision tree classifier, if I train this, usually it will take some time for training. Okay. Let's wait for it to get trained. Okay, meanwhile, like if you have any questions, just let me know. All right, so training is complete. Now if I run this, if you see here, accuracy on training is 1, that is 100%. So something is not looking right here. And accuracy on test is 87. So the overfitting that I was discussing, you can see that I'm kind of overfitting over here. Because on training data set, I have made 100% accurately. But on test data set, I'm doing just 87%. So something is not right. And there are some techniques like we call it as regularization technique, where you can uh, uh, just like make your machine learning model not to overfit on the training data. Okay, so even this decision tree, you can fine tune it to make it regularize it so that it is not kind of overfitting. So if you see here, it is giving me 100% accuracy on training data, but just 87% on the test data. And I'm now using another classifier, random forest classifier. And if I check like training and testing data, and all this while, like if you will be seeing here, I have not done anything specific, like whatever default parameters and hyperparameters there, I'm just using them to explain the concept and to for you guys to get that feel like how you will be doing machine learning or building machine learning models. But there are a lot of things which are involved when you actually start working on some of the actual data set, which I will be covering in future classes. But right now, this is just one toy data set which you can think of, which is already cleaned for you, and I'm trying to apply machine learning concept on top of that. So this is another algorithm in machine learning. All right, so right now we have kind of, for classification problem, we have seen 3 kinds of machine learning algorithm. The first one was SGD classifier. The next we tried decision tree, and we saw that on decision tree, I'm making 100% accuracy on training data, and I was pretty sure that I'm doing some kind of overfitting there. So regularization technique is a must or required in this particular algorithm. SGD classifier, I was kind of doing okay. Let's see random forest. So now the training for random forest is also complete. Now if I see this accuracy and accuracy for training and test data, you will see that I'm doing an accuracy of 100% of on training data and 97% on test data. Sorry, this is test data. Okay, this is test. So which looks kind of promising, right? Now I'm doing 97% on test data, which is good, right? So with just few lines of code, I was able to build a machine learning model. But there are a lot of things which are involved behind the scenes, which you need to know when you want to work on some real-time data, when you are building some use cases, some models on actual data set, and where you will need to require and you will need to build your own model. There you need to do a lot of coding and programming, and that I will be discussing in my future classes, that is for sure. All right. And again, for a classification model, like although I have just used accuracy as my evaluation metrics, there are other things as well. We have something called as precision, recall, F1 score, F2 score. There is something called as ROC curve, AUC curve. All those things are there, and depending on your business use case, depending on your requirement, you will be using one evaluation matrix over the other. It's not that when you are getting accuracy of 100%, it is a great model. Maybe accuracy is not going to be the measure that you require. So there are a few things that is required for you to understand from the business point of things, and I will be discussing and covering those things in great detail in my future classes. All right. So that is all that I had planned for today. Any questions?